Good afternoon and welcome to the January 26th, 2010 meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority. May we have the roll call, please?
Authority members: Draymond.
Here.
Friedman.
Here.
Mincy.
Here.
Parazian.
Here.
Quintero.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Chairman Najarian.
Here. May we have your report?
The agenda for the January 26, 2010 regular meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority was posted on Thursday, January 21, 2010 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
And the next item, please.
This is approval of minutes. Is there a motion?
I am making the motion. I just want to make a note that we have several dates on this particular motion, and Mrs. Friedman was absent for part of them, but on the 15th of January you were present. 15th of December you were present.
And the 19th as well.
Was the 19th
January.
also, so it's a little
Appears to have been absent on November 17th.
Okay. Thank you. Are you moving the minutes?
I moved.
Second.
Okay. Noting Mr. Mincy's findings and the abstention on the appropriate date, the minutes will be approved as submitted. Next item, please.
Next item is oral communication. There was one card submitted. Discussion is limited to items not part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Members of the Housing Authority may question or respond to a speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The matter may be referred to staff through the Executive Director for an investigation and a report.
Thank you. I have one card from Herbert Milano.
Good afternoon. Chairman Najarian, members of the Glendale Housing Authority, and city staff. My name is Herbert Milano. I had received a couple of weeks ago a notification that on this day there will be a presentation of the quality of life indicators. Fortunately, it rained today because I had sent out some notices to nonprofits and other organizations in Glendale to be here for this presentation. Nonetheless, I've wanted to address, the release of or the pending release of that document. A few months ago, there was a presentation created by the city with an interview of one of the ex-mayors of Glendale. Forgot his name because he lives in Carlsbad. And if we were to look at communities that I would consider the top of the cream of the crop with regard to cities, Carlsbad would be one of them. If I were to retire and not be active in things about politics and so forth, it's a place where you can see the quality of life indicators in many ways, with regard to the road maintenance, availability of programs for kids, availability of programs for seniors, and it's a wealthy community, and it's you got a lot of the elements of that, and there is no surprise that a prior mayor of Glendale decided to retire in Carlsbad. I want to make sure I mention to you about something that I saw last week at the Sanlan Kahanga meeting, the first meeting with Paul Krikorian. There were about 500 people present during this particular community meeting, and we have representatives from the schools bringing the issues concerning drugs that they have found, representatives, principals, vice principals, counselors, and they say, we cannot do this problem alone. We could hide it, but it is much better if we bring it up to the community and get the cooperation, from all the community to solve this problem. We're beginning to see some of that here in Glendale, in the CV area, where you begin to recognize that there are problems that merit the involvement of the whole community. And I think moving in that direction is what the city needs to do, sort of recognize that we have problems that they need to be addressed. For many years, especially when I was in college, I began to wonder and write papers concerning what is the cause of poverty and what is the cause of gangs. And here it is about 35 years later, and I'm looking at the problem of gangs even worse now. I figured, how does that become a pervasive problem? Why is it that we seem unable to solve such a significantly pernicious problem that affects so much of society, affects our budgets, affects our prisons, affects our police, and we're not able to make headway towards that? And I think my involvement coming here for the past 8 years has been driven towards that understanding how it is that you make decisions, how it is that you're driven to basically make the decisions that come to you every Tuesday, and how the agendas are structured. And so I came with a lot of optimism about 6 years ago, bringing in the concept of strategic planning. If you have a strategic plan and execute towards it, you begin to address these problems. Well, that didn't get much traction, so I began to now look at the quality of life indicators. Because at the end of the day, everything that you do with the budget and all the decision makings are made towards one goal, to basically improve the quality of life, improve the roads, reduce the crime, improve the safety. Where government really is actively working towards improving the conditions in which we live. And that's why I think this document is so very important. Now, I supported 3 of the members of the City Council when you were running for office, Mr. Draymond, Mr. Quintero, and Mr. Najarian. And when I talked to you back then, there was a certain amount of energy and desire to do something really significant. And I get the feeling that somehow that fire and that energy is no longer there, as if you had a big wet blanket has basically dropped upon you, and you no longer seem to be able to get the energy to really move towards these issues that we talked about personally. With Mr. Najarian, we went down to South Glendale, we look at the deficiencies that we have, conditions of the roads and parks and so forth. And here it is a few years later, and somehow it's like you lost your energy. It's like some other force is coming to you and basically just dropped upon you. You can no longer pick up and re-energize to really work towards it. And it was my hope that when we bring these quality of life indicators, that we can look at it and say, look at the problems that have been pervasive for so long, and what can we do to finally do something about it and make our budget fit the solution towards those goals. And those are my words for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Starbird, when are we getting that report? I know it's been sent back for some...
Been sent back for additional work. I'm uncertain of this time. I would expect in the month of February, one of your meetings.
Will that be is that going to be a joint meeting, council, housing?
I think it has been joint meeting with
no,
housing.
right.
Yeah, in a study session format, so you can spend some time and get into it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
We'll get it re-agendized and again establish another target date for it.
Thank you. I have no other cards. Oral communications is closed. Are there any authority member or staff comments? Seeing none, there's no new business,
Will we adjourn? Second.
and the Housing Authority is adjourned.